Hi guys, MBSC1 again, and I'm here with
Michael Perez.
And we both used the same 60 at Washington State's last weekend. We both played Virizion, Genesect, Manectric, so this is our deck list. Okay, so we'll start with Pokemon. 3 Virizion. I think this is the right count just because we have Manectric too, so you don't really need the 4th one. If you start with Manectric, you can just Mega Evolve into that and accelerate energy that way. I think we both liked 3 a lot.
In most of my matchups, I liked it, but I feel like if you were going to run a thicker Manectric line, you could even go down to 1, because Manectric's a really good starter. You can overrun first turn. But yeah, it was a good choice considering the amount of Seismitoad in the meta.
Yeah. Then 3 Genesect. This is just your main attacker. You can actually turn Mega Manectric into kind of your main attacker, so you might even be able to go down to 1 Genesect if you want, but yeah, it's just good and really helpful with the red signal. So even if you're not attacking with it, just taking advantage of the red signal is really helpful. And then 3 regular Manectric. I was told by a couple people that it would be a good idea just to run a 2-2 Mega Manectric line, but I felt that the 3-3 was important just because it makes it so that you can beat Flareon, and it makes it really consistent if you do start with Manectric.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like 3-3 a lot.
It's a really powerful starter, but surprisingly, when I was playing in my first round against Jakar, he was winning the first game, and I had started with Manectric opposed to Virizion, and when I overran, he just knocked it out, and it ended up, like, that game didn't go so well. And the next 2 games I started with Virizion, and I chose to charge up Virizion, and that was the better play, so...
Yeah, it's situational for sure.
Yeah. And then the Megas.
Yeah, 3 Mega Manectric, that just goes with the 3 regular. And then this is a strange count. I think nobody else is really doing this besides us, but we decided to run 2 Jirachi. This happened when I had Skylight in my hand at one point. I was like, this sucks, I don't want Skylight at all. And I was like, why not just run another Jirachi? So we put it in instead of the 3rd Skylight, and I think we both like it.
Or no, it was before then.
Oh, like, maybe it was.
I was playtesting against him using Flareon, and he had his 1 Jirachi in play, and he was like, oh god, I wish I could Ultra Ball for a 2nd Jirachi. Or no, he had an Ultra Ball in his hand and no supporter. And I was like, you should run a 2nd Jirachi. And so we ended up doing it, yeah.
Yeah, it ended up being because after someone trump carded a lot of the time, I ended up with all those Ultra Balls back in my deck, which just are dead cards. So,
and then just like fluff of cards that aren't supporters that you have trouble drawing into.
Yeah, exactly. And this deck has a lot of room on the bench as well. Like, you don't really have Deoxys or Jirachi, or I mean, what's Jinx or like anything like that. So you have room to play 2 down. So that's all the Pokemon.
Alright.
And then for the supporters, kind of a weird line, but we do have the 2 Jirachi, so it makes it pretty consistent. 4 Sycamore, pretty much standard in every deck. I don't think I know of any deck that doesn't run 4 Sycamore in this format. Just consistent and good.
And then 3N we chose because N isn't a supporter that you'll always want to play, especially when we have Mega Manectric. You want to discard those Grass and Lightning early on in the game, and N is just kind of losing its power in this meta and format.
Yeah, just a lot of the time you just want to go fast. You gotta go fast.
You gotta go fast.
You can't afford to draw 6, you need to draw 7 a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So,
and thinning your deck with those cards in your beginning hand.
Yeah, and it's not a big deal to drop cards anymore, because like everybody runs Trump Card, so you can pretty much drop whatever at any time.
And even if you drop like all 3 of your ends with the first Sycamore, you have Versus Seeker to get it back.
Yeah. And then 2 Chorus. I like Chorus a lot in this deck. A lot of people favor a higher Skyla count over a higher Chorus count in Virizion Genesect decks, but I just found that with this variant, you don't really need to Skyla as much, and more of the time you just need to draw more cards. Yeah, Chorus is just really good for drawing a lot of cards. 2 Skyla. This is mostly there just to get like the Spirit Link, or the G Booster, or the Muscle Band. Just any of those 1-ofs you need. You can get Professor's Letter too, but I don't think you really need more than 2 Skyla, because we do have the 2 Jirachi, so you can kind of get it whenever you need that way as well.
Yeah.
I never really wanted more than 2 Skyla.
I definitely preferred this supporter count other than making this a Skyla or making this an N, because I don't like N as much as I like Sycamore, and the 2 Chorus were really powerful because you can just drop whatever you want on the bench fast, and you can Chorus for 10 like turn 2. Yeah. Skyla, I didn't find as useful. Most of the time when I started my hand with Skyla, I would either get the Ultra Ball for the Switch, or the Ultra Ball for the Genesect, or Manectric, or I would Skyla for the Switch or Escape Rope, which was helpful. It's helpful, but it's not as powerful as a Chorus.
Yeah, a lot of the times when I had Skyla, I just Skylaed for a Sycamore.
Yeah.
So, then 1 Chorus. This was extremely good. I noticed this was super helpful. Definitely. I even thought about putting in 2. There was seriously. Yeah, there was even times when like I considered just taking the Plasma Energy out and putting in all Lysanders instead, just because it's so much more helpful. When you have 2 Jirachi, you can just get that Lysander whenever you want. And plus, you have the 3 VS Seeker, so if it's in your discard pile, it's just extremely accessible in this deck. Very good. I wouldn't take it out at all.
Yeah, I think I used it. I used it to get knockouts on Keldeo using Megalocannon. I used it to get a knockout on a Mega Groudon EX. I used it to win that last Flareon game, which was really helpful. Otherwise, I would have lost next turn.
You must have been cheating against the Mega Groudon player, because you can't use trainers on primals.
Oh yeah, actually, that's
you definitely
true.
Cheated.
We both forgot. We both forgot that Lysander can't affect Mega Groudon.
Primal. Anyway, yeah.
Or Primal, yeah. Shit.
Either way. Oh yeah, and the other thing is you can't really waste the attachment of a Plasma on a Genesect a lot of the time, because you need to attach the electric to a Mega Manectric, so that's another big reason why Lysander is helpful. And for the items, just want to make the items really consistent, so that's why I have the 4 Ultra Ball. You need the Mega or the regular Manectric a lot, and you know it gives you access to other Jirachis whenever you need them. It just makes it really consistent.
Yeah, you need to go fast.
You need to go fast. 3 Spirit Link. 3 is just the perfect count when you're running a 3/3 line. I mean, I don't know why you would run any more or any less.
Yeah, you really need to get it before they can Headringer you.
I think they might be able to see that. 3 Muscle Band. This is iffy. The third one was, I forgot what we cut for it, but like we just decided the third one was kind of necessary. Headringer was kind of too prevalent to not run enough tools. So I don't know if I totally love 3 or not though, because it's really only helpful on Virizion early game if you start with Virizion.
Yeah, I think even the 2 got in the way sometimes for me, because I would have it, and I would have Manectric in play, opposed to the Spirit Link, and I think I'm content with 2, but 3 doesn't hurt, especially when you're starting with Virizion.
Yeah. And then 2 Energy Switch. There's a lot of attackers in this deck. You have a lot of options for who to attack with. Yeah. And so that makes Energy Switch really good, because then you can just kind of power up attackers out of the blue. Gives you a lot of versatility when you have a lot of energy in play. 1 Max Potion. Don't run this card, it's shit.
It helped me a little bit in a few of my matchups, but honestly, when I was dead drawing and I couldn't hit that lightning, I drew into the Max Potion, and I wish it was a lightning. So even that time it was worth it to change it out for a lightning, yeah.
Really wasn't worth it. Yeah, it's, in my experience, I used it 1 time against Jakar, and Jakar was my easiest matchup anyway, so it had no use for me. 1 Troll Retriever. Headringers are pretty big right now, so, and they hurt Virizion pretty bad, so you kind of just need to run one of these.
Especially when they hit your Manectric early on before you can get a Spirit Link on it.
Yeah.
That happened to me a couple times.
Yeah. 1 is so Professor's Letter actually tricking me over here. This is great because you run Electric and Grass, so grabbing either one is very helpful. We thought about going up to 2 Professor's Letter a lot. Ultimately, I don't remember why we didn't.
Toad's really popular.
Oh yeah, Toad's. I think that was the reason why Toad's big right now. So yeah, I think that's why we kept 1. Then 1 Switch, 1 Escape Rope. This is a good split. I know most people just run 2 Switch, but I think Escape Rope's very helpful in certain situations. And a lot of the time, you don't really need to use these cards. So like a lot of the time, you won't use your Switch or escape rope at all.
You can use it to discard with your Ultra Ball or
That's
something.
true. But like, escape rope is better as a mid to late game card as opposed to switches because it can have an effect on your opponent, where switch only can help you really early.
And lastly, the G Booster. This helped me in a lot of matchups. I used it to win to finish up at least 2 of my games. And it's just great because you Turbo Bolt and then the next turn they retreat into something fresh and you can either Lysander it back up, red signal, or you can hit the fresh thing with the G Booster and that really surprises them. Yeah. And it won me a couple games, yeah.
It kind of just puts them in a position where they're like, alright, something's going to go down. I either have the thing with damage and let them hit it again, or knock out a new fresh thing. So it just puts them in really bad positions, and it's super accessible when you run 2 Skylar and 2 Jirachi with 4 Ultra Ball. I found it to be extremely helpful, and definitely wouldn't take it out.
Yeah, you kind of just leave it in your hand until you... Or, you know, people don't run Megaphone anymore, so you can slap it on a Genesect early game, and most of the time they'll catcher it up, and you'll just charge up something on the bench and let that go out.
And we also didn't run Shadow Triad, which is kind of weird, but we just didn't find we needed it very much. You really only need to use G Booster 1 time most times, so 1 was all you need. And like we said, nobody really runs Megaphone anymore, so you don't really have... Yeah, that doesn't really hurt you. Then for the energy, this kind of sucks, honestly. I'd like to make this thicker. I really wanted another electric really bad. Another grass would have helped a lot too. I noticed a couple times when I Emerald Slashed, I either got no energy or I couldn't get enough. So an 8th... Honestly, if I could have a 4th Plasma, an 8th Grass, and a 4th Electric,
16 energy.
I want all of them, honestly. The way I think about it is these are more of trainer cards. They're more effect. They're just like catchers. So yeah. I kind of don't think of them as energy. They're like half energy to me. But yeah, I'd definitely like to make this energy line thicker if I can.
For me, definitely the 4th Lightning. That's absolutely necessary. These Plasma Energy, because you're Turbo Bolting and attaching Lightning and charging up, you have a separate attacker, Mega Manectric. Plasma Energy wasn't as necessary, but having the 3 is definitely a solid count. 4 would be nice, but it could clump.
Yeah.
7 Grass was fine for me. There was one time where I Emerald Slashed only 1 Grass Energy, but other than that, it was fine.
Yeah, I think I was just more inclined to still use Virizion early game than Michael was, which is probably why I wanted the more... I think I was using this more as a Virizion Genesect Manectric deck, and he was using it as more of a Mega Manectric Genesect deck with Virizion in it. Maybe not, though, I don't know.
So, I'm going to go over my rounds in chronological order. First round, I went against a guy named Jakar from Oregon. He was playing Yveltal Seismitoad. The first game, I didn't draw too well. He took 4 prizes. I ended up scooping that round, and then I won out the next 2 games. And he seemed a little bit upset, but we got to know each other, and that's cool. Second round, I went against a guy named Kevin Krupnik, and he was playing an interesting list, Toad, Manectric, Leafeon, Mewtwo, and I lost to that. His Manectric just got me. He 2-0'd me. And then third round, I went against Night March, and he just kind of drew well, and I didn't draw too well. I missed the Lightning Energy for the Mega Manectric 4 turns in a row, but we ended up tying. And then round 4, I went against a really consistent Flareon deck who ran 4 Leafeon and 4 Flareon, which is interesting. He ran 4 ofs a lot. But the judge had to come over because I accidentally took 2 prizes while knocking out a Flareon.
Saw that.
And then I had to put 1 back, but I had the Lysander in hand next turn, so I took the last 2 on his Jirachi, and that won me the 3rd game. Round 5, I went against Landorus Bats, and that's your worst matchup, right?
Yeah, even if you're not running Mega Manectric, even if you're not running Manectric, Landorus Bats is an awful matchup.
It just hits for 90 and then hits your bench, and you can't really come back from it fast enough. and I think he 2-0'd me.
Probably.
Yeah. And then round 6, I went against Donphan Groudon. It was this girl, I think she was a new player, but she could have won if she had wrecked instead of used Spinning Turn. And we just ended up tying. And then round 7, Daniel and I dropped, and we went into an LC.
Yeah. So, I mean, although there's a lot, like, he didn't get a super good record, the losses are, like, to things that, like, you're supposed to lose to with the deck. Like, Landorus Bats isn't really big at all right now, and so, I mean, it's kind of makes sense that you would lose to it with this deck, and I don't think you should really worry about that matchup very much, because I think the deck's kind of dying out right now anyway. And, like, your ties, all of your matchups were really bad, honestly. Like, my matchups were a lot easier. So, like, round 1, I went against this Virizion Genesect Seismitoad deck. The guy actually ended up making top 8, but he actually ran Illumise in there too, like 1 or 2 of them, which I didn't even see, but I thought that was kind of cool. I might include that. This is it. And then round two, I went against Flareon. That was actually not that bad of a matchup. I know people think like Virizion Genesect, and you're like, oh, it's an awful matchup, you can't do anything. But since we run a 3-3 Mega Manectric line, it's actually not that hard, because you can just, they can like never one-shot you, and you just one-shot them over and over with Turbo Bolt.
It was really easy with the Tool Retriever. You would just Tool Retrieve the Spirit Link back into your hand, play a Muscle Band, and even if they have the Training Center in play, you can one-shot Flareons.
Right, exactly. So yeah, but I still ended up losing to it, just because I dead drew both games. The first game I started with no supporter, and so I just lost. And then game 2, I get a supporter and I play it, and then after that, I just don't get any more supporters for the rest of the game, and just quickly lose. And on top of that, I started with Jirachi, so that was real fun. Round 3, I went against Seismitoad, Pyro, Mewtwo. I think he was kind of a new player, so that was not too tough, because Toad I just hit with Genesect, Mewtwo I just G-Booster, and Pyro I can just hit with Mega Manectric, so the whole thing is pretty easily countered. And then I played against Lugia, Seismitoad, Bats, which is also kind of a weird deck, but, you know, he's got Seismitoad in there. I just hit that for weakness with Virizion or Genesect. Lugia I can hit for weakness with Mega Manectric, and Bats I can, like, snipe and stuff with Manectric, so it was a pretty easy matchup. He did...
And Megalocannon.
Yeah, and Megalocannon. He did play a Plasma Frigate, though, so that got rid of his, like, the weakness advantage I had at one point. But yeah, I think I 2-0'd him. And then I went against just a regular Yveltal deck with a couple Seismitoads in there round 5. It was actually Jakar, the same guy he played against round 1. And so Jakar was like really mad that he played against both of us because he knew it was such a bad matchup. He ended up playing he played against 4 Manectric decks that day. Which kind of sucks. But yeah, I think I 2-0'd him too. And then round 6 I go against Toad Garb, and I'm like super happy because I'm like, all I gotta do is win this round, and I can ID next round, and I'll get in cut. But yeah, Toad Garb is like one of the easiest matchups, I think. Yeah. And then my opponent just gets super lucky the whole time. If you've seen the vlogs, you've seen me like talk about it, but she basically just flips a ton of heads, puts me to sleep a lot, and I just can't draw what I need out of it, and I ended up losing. So
Let's talk about that round.
Yeah, that was... What do you mean?
Well, the first game, what happened is you attached your energy, and then she just...
Head-ringered.
She head-ringered and then hammered, and then next turn you attached, and then she team flared Grunt, right?
I don't know. I think she just played another hammer and got heads.
And then she put you to sleep for 4 turns, and you only woke up once?
Yeah, I think that happened in the 3rd game. But yeah, it was like 3 consecutive turns in a row. I attach, she hammers it off, and I just couldn't get anything going. And by that point, like, I had enough damage on my Virizion so that I couldn't really do anything. I ended up finally powering up a Genesect, but by that point she had knocked out one Virizion and put so much damage on the other Virizion that, like, she just ran through me, which is crazy. Yeah, and then round 2 I just won because she didn't flip heads on her first hammer, and you kind of have to do that if you're going second against Virizion Genesect. And then round 3, the same thing happened, except she got turn 2 Garb and just put me to sleep like 3 or 4 times, and I just couldn't wake up. So, like, it really wasn't my fault. Like, I couldn't do anything about it.
She just luck-sacked.
Yeah, exactly. And then she ended up bubbling at 9th, so, like, that win went towards nothing.
Yeah, that sucks.
And then round 7 I didn't play the same as Michael because...
Yeah, we dropped.
Well, actually we just gave our opponents a win, because it was the last round anyway. So,
They were happy about that.
Yeah, they were both really happy about that. I would have played against Flareon. So because I gave my opponent the win, I went 6-3. I mean 4-3. I think I would have won if I played it out though. So I kind of wish I did. But yeah, so that's how that went. Overall, I like the deck a lot. I would change a couple things though. Like I would put an Illumise in there. I don't know if you saw it a second ago, but the first attack for 1 grass lets you search your deck for a grass or any energy actually and attach it to one of your benched Pokemon. So it's like a mini Virizion. It doesn't do damage, which I think is really good because like Seismitoad can't Headringer it, and it's a non-EX. So I would definitely put that in the list, and then I would take the 1 Max Potion out for another Electric Energy. And I think that's about it. I might change a couple other things. Anything you would change besides that?
No, yeah, I missed the Lightning Energy 4 times.
Yeah.
Like 2 of my games, the 2nd and 3rd round. Yeah, definitely the 4th Lightning Energy would help.
Yeah. But
I'm not so sure what I think about Illumise, but
I think it's good. Maybe just as like a 1 of, maybe 2 of. But it's just a non-EX.
Well, yeah, for Toad, I guess.
Because the deck just lacks a non-EX attacker. So
that's true.
It helps with that as well. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good pick for like week 3 and 4 of States. If you look at all the big decks, it's pretty much Yveltal, Toad, Flareon. Donphan's kind of making a resurgence, so it's not a good matchup against that.
Donphan, Groudon.
Yeah. And like Kyogre, if you look at Yveltal, Toad, Flareon, and Kyogre, you have great matchups against all those decks. So I think this is a pretty good choice if you can, play it well and stuff. Yeah, so I think that's about it. Anything else? Alright, well, thanks for watching. Comment if you want to tell me something, like the video if you liked the video, and subscribe for more.